Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back. Our guest today is Dan Stuart, CEO and President of Juggernaut Exploration. Welcome back, Dan.
Thanks for having me, Ivan. Thanks very much. I love your show and I'm an adamant follower of it.
Oh,
So good
thank,
stuff.
thank you so much for joining us. The precious metals community really appreciates having you come down. I want to talk to you about, there's so much excitement happening in precious metals, the mining sector, the physical sector, everything in general for silver and gold. And you were just at a conference recently talking to people, that are interested in getting into the precious metal space, even from the tech sector. What are you seeing right now? What were the conversations like at that place?
Yeah, well, I was at the Nordic Mines conference in Stockholm, and the mood is very bullish. And what I found with the majority of the people that I met with is they didn't have an allocation in the space. They didn't have a weighting. I met with one gentleman. He had $6 billion under management, and he's made a pantload in the tech space, but he's looking, to pick up positions in mining. And how do I do it? Where do I get started? So we're really at the beginning of this cycle.
Absolutely. Now, since the last time we've talked, gold has moved up tremendously. Silver briefly this week touched the 53, $54 mark. It got a little bit hit back down, but still holding at great levels above $50. What are you seeing right now, or what are you feeling for the precious metal space? Are we going to see a big correction, a small correction? What are your feelings here?
My feelings are we're going to see a small correction. I mean, we've seen that a bit today. You've got historic record percentage standing for delivery on the COMEX. 100% of contracts are standing. And that used to be 1% of contracts were standing for physical delivery. So this is a temporary pullback. Psychologically smash it before the weekend, and then everybody sits on pins and needles and talks about it all weekend in a negative light. Well, the central banks are the buyers here today. You got to remember, for every sale you see on gold today, there was a buyer for that, right?
Oh, for sure. What like you brought up the contracts, people standing for delivery. It used to be years before that, yeah, 1%, maybe 2% would stand for delivery. Now you're seeing 100% standing for delivery. Who is standing for delivery, and is that causing a short squeeze in the silver space?
Yeah, well, I believe it is. It's central banks and large banks that act as custodians for government. So they'll try to hide that who that end purchaser is of bullion. But as I like to say, the paper game is gone and the physical game is on, and that's really what we're seeing here. These aren't people that are looking to trade bullion over a week, 2 week period. These are, governments that are concerned about inflation, deflation, stagflation, record debt, devaluation of the US dollar. There's no bottom to the US dollar, so there's no top to gold. Gold can continue to go much, much higher as the US dollar can continue to go much, much lower.
Right.
So you've got multiple underpinning factors on the price of bullion, silver too as well.
Is there anything concerning you about this precious metals market?
My only concern is that we've gone very far, very fast. Last time I was on, I said, we're at the beginning of what I believed was going to be a parabolic move. I believe gold was 2,200, 2,300, somewhere around there. And literally a week or 3 weeks later, this market move happened, which just hasn't stopped. So we need a bit of cooling off. It's natural to see these. I've seen it before over multiple decades, but that would be the only concern would be an interim pullback and not enough dry powder to accumulate some of the stuff that's on sale today, right?
Yeah, you called it perfectly. Last time I interviewed you, it was months ago, and you called a parabolic move. The move came, and now I guess there's a little bit of fear in the market, or fear for maybe some people who are saying, "Oh, silver's going to go down, gold is going to go down." Is there anything that you have your eye on right now that you're watching closely? Or are you less concerned, or you're just, like what you just explained, there's going to be a little bit of a correction and a minor pullback, and it's a great time to buy. What do you have your eye on?
Short term, I have my eye on the talk of the Tomahawk missile and being able to strike 2,500 kilometers into the Ukraine. If they could force some form of peace deal or a ceasefire, I think we'd see maybe a minor correction from where we are here today in gold and silver. Other than that, this is a protracted bull market. And even if there is a peace deal, in Eastern Europe, this will only be a temporary down dip, downdraft to gold. And the bull market is going to continue. It's unstoppable now. The debt globally, the US debt, it's reached a point where the United States, I believe, has to come up with $1 trillion every month just to service our current debt.
It's
So
crazy.
it is crazy. We're headed in one direction. It's just, are we going to be on a regular rail line getting there at all times, or are we going to be on a high speed bullet train to get there? I think it's more just managing the unwind.
Hello, my fellow silver and gold stackers. Please hit the like and subscribe button. It will really help the silver and gold community grow. It'll help this channel grow, and I'd really appreciate it. Back to the video.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
And recently, the United States brokered a peace deal between Israel and Hamas. But now, today, the United States, the Trump administration came out and said, if Hamas keeps on kidnapping, Israelis or so on and so forth, the United States military is going to intervene and have to take out the Hamas. So that could easily ignite another whole geopolitical mess that will, skyrocket the precious metals sector. So I guess we're just teeter-tottering on the geopolitical issues. But even with the peace deals that were getting declared recently, you've still seen gold move on a tear. So it might be more than that. Like, I don't know if you know this, but you've seen Morgan Stanley came out and changed their perspective for their clients, and they advise their clients to go. Usually, it's a 60-40 split, 60% stocks, 40% bonds. Now they're saying 60% stocks, 20% bonds, 20% gold. So the CEO of Morgan Stanley came out and said that. What are your thoughts when you have these big institutional players like Morgan Stanley telling their clients, hey, get out of bonds and get into gold, like 20%? What are your thoughts there, Dan?
Well, my thoughts are follow the money. You've got Jamie Dimon came out yesterday and said he sees gold going to $5,000 to $10,000 an ounce. You saw HSBC Bank come out today and they've upped their price target to $5,000 an ounce. So, and they're calling for that within the next 12 months.
Wow.
So, you see the banks act first. And then who comes next after that are so first you see the central banks, and then after that now you're seeing the largest financial institutions following suit, right? So we are very far from this becoming a retail mania in any way. If anything, going around the planet to all these different conferences, you meet with all these family offices, retail investors, and everybody's very underweight. So,
Yeah. What were you saying, Dan? Sorry.
yeah, I think we're probably at the bottom of the second inning in this run.
So there's more to go now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I personally think gold over the next, and this is being conservative, over the next 5 years, we'll see it reach that $9,000, $10,000 mark for gold over the next 5 years, because it moved so much just in the past year. What's not to say in the next 5 to 6 years that it'll move, double from where we're at.
Yeah. Well, there's no bottom to the US dollar, so there's no top to the price of gold. People
Right.
say, well, how can gold get to $5,000 an ounce? I say, well, how is Bitcoin at $110,000 a coin, which you can't hold? And it's in the electronic ether of the internet, right?
Yeah.
So bull markets can always move much further and faster than people believe. That's why they're called bull markets, because the hardest thing to do in a bull is hold on. You don't want to get bucked off the bull, right? That's going
Yeah.
to be the big challenge here for everybody in this market is psychologically being able to remain focused and stay long through this run.
Now, we've seen Bitcoin and we've seen the cryptos. Let's take Bitcoin as an example, move, in the early 2000s from 1,000 or whatever it was. Now it's $100,000. What happens if gold does the same moves as Bitcoin and one day you just see it go from 5, 10,000 to 100,000? Would we see the end of the US dollar, a banking collapse? What kind of world would we be living in if we seen $100,000 gold?
Well, the world would be much different than it is today. There'd be some rocky periods through that, potentially some bank closures along the way. That's why I own physical silver bars and coins. But you have to remember that the US and global financial system was founded and backed by gold. So seeing gold at $100,000 an ounce, I actually think we'll be in a much better world.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
a world where money just can't be printed with the push of a button. You and I have to go out and work for our money. Now, imagine if we could just print it at home on our printer.
It'd be pretty nice.
What would the valuation of our dollar be, and the sweat that we put into things, to provide for our standard of living? So I think a revaluation of gold is coming where it will make up a percentage of the US dollar. If that remains the world's reserve currency, maybe a 30% weighting of that. You have to remember that if that does, the Fed has to become the last buyer of resort for physical. So if they peg gold at, say, $5,000 an ounce, that's the bottom. So if you show up with gold to the Fed window, the cent's going to have to pay for it.
Right.
He's going to print money to buy it. Basically, we'll hand you toilet paper for your precious gold, right? I think the world would be better, but it would take a few years to get to that point,
And now a
right?
message from our sponsor, Juggernaut Exploration.
One of the more exciting ones, I think, is Juggernaut. I know some people say, well, lightning can't strike twice, and but look, I think one of the things you got to reflect on is that some of the guys who work here at Juggernaut are some of the same geologists that basically found and have now advanced sherbet at Goliath, okay, over the past years. So they have a very different way of thinking about exploration in the Golden Triangle than most other geologists, okay? And they've gone out and they've identified what could be another sherbet type target here. And the size of these veins is absolutely jaw-dropping. My hunch is these guys are onto something pretty special.
The link in the description is right below for Juggernaut Exploration. Now back to the episode.
Right.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, a real gold or, precious metal stacker who would want to trade their precious metals for paper money, like
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the best. But, Dan, I want to thank you so much for coming down here. It's such a pleasure having you on. Can you speak briefly before you go? Where can people connect with you? What's the news for Juggernaut as well?
Yeah, best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. That's under Dan Stewart on LinkedIn, or at the Juggernaut Exploration LinkedIn account, or the website www.juggernautexploration.com. Juggernaut has discovered a 22-kilometer area. That's 40% of the size of the island of Manhattan, where we found over 400 polymetallic veins at surface
No way.
in 30 days, running up to 8.25 ounces per ton gold.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, right next door to that is the Gold Swarm area. That is a quarter of the size of downtown Vancouver. And we've found over 100 polymetallic veins there, running up to 4 ounces per ton gold. This is all at surface. This is all due
Wow.
to glacial
That's
recession.
incredible.
Right next door is 42 million ounces of gold at Newmont's Galore Creek, one of the largest, highest grade porphyries in the Americas. So stay tuned. It's like a giant iceberg coming out of the ground, this giant iceberg, this mountain, and we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. It's literally a mountain of gold. So we're going to
Wow.
drill it. We got the
Wow.
money to drill it. So exciting things coming.
Yeah, super exciting. I highly recommend everyone watching this follow the Juggernaut story. Take a deeper look at just look at it because it's such an exciting time. What you mentioned right now is incredible for this. It's just really outstanding, and I'm gonna have a little bit of people can look in the description below so they can connect with Juggernaut and yourself. But Dan, I want to thank you so much for coming down, speaking to the silver and the gold community here. And as the market develops, absolutely would love to have you on in the future.
Thanks very much for your time and get ready. The bull market is going to keep going.
Absolutely. Talk to you soon, Dan.
Thanks.